Gary Burghoff's journey into the role of Radar O'Reilly began long before the hit television series MASH took over the airwaves. In 1970, when director Robert Altman was casting for the film adaptation of MASH, he saw something special in a young actor named Gary Burghoff. At the time, Burghoff was a relatively unknown stage actor and jazz drummer. However, his performance as Radar, a young, innocent company clerk, stood out, providing a balance to the chaos of the war satire. The character's boyish charm and genuine innocence became the emotional heart of the film. When CBS decided to turn MASH into a television series 2 years later, Burghoff was the only actor asked to reprise his role. What started as a small part in a groundbreaking film evolved into a central role in one of TV's most beloved series. The innocence of Radar on screen. As MASH began to redefine television in 1972, Radar O'Reilly became a symbol of innocence amid the madness of war. Set during the Korean War but aired during the Vietnam War, the series resonated with audiences who saw their own disillusionment reflected in the character's struggles. Radar's ability to sense helicopters before anyone else and his enduring innocence made him a character viewers could root for. Gary Burghoff, through his portrayal of Radar, brought a unique combination of sweetness and vulnerability that made the character unforgettable. It was clear from the very beginning that Radar wasn't just comic relief, he was the heart of the 477th. Gary's subtle, tender approach to the character won him legions of fans who adored his quirky stammer, shy demeanor, and love for his teddy bear. The pressure of perfection. Despite the overwhelming success of MASH and its impact on television, the pressure on Gary Burghoff to maintain Radar's innocent persona became suffocating. While the other main characters, like Alan Alda, Wayne Rogers, and McLean Stevenson, were given more room to grow and evolve, Radar was expected to stay eternally boyish and naive. This stunted development, coupled with the increasing expectations from both producers and the audience, began to weigh heavily on Gary. The character was beloved, but the pressure to keep him unchanged left Gary feeling trapped. Radar's sweetness, while endearing, became a typecast prison, and Gary feared that he would never be seen as anything more than the innocent, wide-eyed clerk. This emotional burden began to take its toll, and the weight of it became harder for him to bear as the series progressed. The strain of long hours and exhaustion. As the years of filming on MASH wore on, the exhaustion of long shooting days and the emotional strain of the show began to affect Gary Burghoff's well-being. The series, which initially had a lighthearted and comedic tone, began shifting to include more dramatic and tragic moments as it grew. Gary, who was tasked with embodying the innocence and purity of Radar, felt the brunt of the show's increasingly heavy themes. While his co-stars could channel their frustration and sadness into sarcastic humor or witty banter, Gary internalized the emotion of each episode. His deep sensitivity to the material made his portrayal of Radar resonate with audiences, but it also led to personal fatigue. Behind the scenes, Gary withdrew more and more, seeking solace in quiet moments of reflection. The emotional toll of living in a character's skin for so long began to erode his sense of self. The decision to leave MASH. By 1979, after 7 grueling years of filming, Gary Burghoff had reached his breaking point. The pressure of fame, combined with the emotional strain of his role, had become too much for him to bear. His marriage was suffering, and he found himself unable to balance his personal life with the demands of the show. Gary made the difficult decision to leave MASH at the end of season 7, a move that shocked both the cast and the audience. The producers, however, convinced him to stay long enough for a proper send-off. The 2-part episode Goodbye Radar was crafted as a farewell to the beloved character. In this episode, Radar returned home to Iowa after the death of his uncle, marking the end of his time at the 477th. The departure was emotional, but behind the scenes, Gary's personal struggles nearly sabotaged the farewell. The tension over Radar's farewell. Gary Burghoff's emotional attachment to Radar made the character's departure even more difficult to film. Director Charles S. Dubon envisioned Radar's exit as a quiet, understated moment where he simply slips away from the camp without fanfare. Gary, however, wanted something more dramatic, a cathartic breakdown that would showcase the emotional toll of leaving. After filming the initial version of the scene, Gary's emotional performance came across as forced and overblown. He later admitted that he had made a mistake by pushing for the more theatrical approach. When the scene was reshot, Dubon's vision prevailed. Radar simply walks away as helicopters arrive with wounded soldiers. This minimalist departure became one of the most haunting and poignant moments in MASH's history. Ironically, Gary's perfectionism nearly ruined the farewell, but in failing, he delivered one of his finest performances. The aftermath of Gary's departure. When Goodbye Radar aired in October 1979, it was met with an outpouring of emotion from both fans and critics. However, the tabloids quickly seized on the situation, claiming that the cast had thrown a celebration to mark Gary's departure. Rumors spread, portraying him as difficult, moody, and arrogant. Few people took the time to understand the real reason behind Gary's decision to leave. In truth, the exhaustion of filming MASH for 7 years had worn him down. He longed to be a present father and husband, not a character forever frozen in time. His departure wasn't about ego or fame, it was about reclaiming his personal life and stepping away from the suffocating expectations that came with being Radar O'Reilly. Life after MASH, a quiet retreat. After leaving MASH, Gary Burghoff stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight. He took on a few guest roles and even tried a short-lived spin-off, Walter, in 1984. However, his heart was no longer in the fame game. Gary chose to live a quieter life, away from red carpets and promotional tours. He embraced a more grounded existence, often saying, "I don't fly, I like being where my feet are." Over the years, he explored other creative outlets, including regional theater, voice work, and even wildlife painting. Gary also became involved in humanitarian efforts, raising funds for victims of California's wildfires. His public appearances were few, but when he did speak, it was often with the same sincerity and warmth that had defined his portrayal of Radar. Reflection and legacy. In the years that followed, Gary Burghoff's legacy as Radar O'Reilly only grew stronger. Despite the friction and misunderstandings that marked his time on MASH, the character of Radar remains one of the most beloved figures in television history. Gary's portrayal of the innocent, empathetic clerk in a war zone resonated with viewers in ways that continue to endure. His decision to leave the show, though initially seen as a loss, ultimately preserved the purity of Radar's character. Gary was not difficult. He was simply a man who struggled to live up to the impossible expectations placed upon him. In the end, his quiet retreat from fame allowed him to preserve his dignity and authenticity, making his legacy all the more powerful. Gary's final thoughts. Gary Burghoff's departure from MASH was not just a career decision. It was a personal choice to reclaim his life and his well-being. He never sought fame or recognition. Instead, he sought truth and authenticity. As he reflected on his career, Gary acknowledged that the pressures of playing Radar had taken a toll on him, but that the character's legacy was far bigger than any one actor. Today, as fans continue to watch MASH reruns, they see more than just a boyish clerk with a teddy bear. They see a man who gave everything to a role, who faced the weight of expectations, and who ultimately chose to prioritize his own peace over public adoration. In the end, Gary's legacy as Radar O'Reilly is a testament to the power of vulnerability, truth, and the courage to walk away when it's time.